Now it's on. Recording.
On.
This is Everett Glass. Hi, Pearl.
Hi.
Hi, George.
Hello.
Anytime.
At the end of World War II, we were not allowed to bomb between the Russian and the American lines because the distance was so close. And so they gave us a week's leave on the Isle of Capri. So our pilot was the commander of the squadron, and he gave us 7 days trip to Isle of Capri. We took off by truck across the boot of Italy to Naples, and in Naples we boarded a ferry and took us to the Isle of Capri. It was in April of 1945, and it was getting pretty warm, so we were taken to the marina at Isle of Capri, and it just rose. The Isle of Capri rose up out of the water jutted up like almost vertical, except for the harbor area where it was you could go in, but the base of the island was covered with had a lot of grottos and we had the food on the trip over from Naples to Capri was on a ferry, and they had food that was from all over the world, from Africa. And why don't you cut it off?
Okay, here we go.
Okay. Well, we had a hotel up on the little town on the top. It's about 800 or 900 feet above the sea, and it's a saddle in between the Anna Capri and the Capri. Well, the first thing we did I did was go to the castle of Tiberias, which was on a point overlooking Italy from the Isle of Capri, and the old castle was 2,000 years old. He served at the time of Christ, and it was Tiberius Caesar, and then Caesar, and but this Tiberius had this castle built, and all of its remains of it were arches and walls, and the view across the straits of Salerno was down the beach, ways down about 15 miles down south of this castle. Anyway, after I'd seen that area, we three of us decided to go around the island in kayaks, and we started out one noon, and as we went to the Blue Grotto and went in it's quite a scene. I'm looking out at the entrance because it's all blue inside, it looks like. But we started around the island and met some Italian kids. They were poking around the base of one of those grottos and found an urchin, a sea urchin, and it was real spiny. And the sea urchin, they broke it open, and it looked like an egg inside. And they just emptied it like an egg in the mouth. And we kept going around this island, and it was 12 miles around the island, and you could really go with us
With the kayak.
with the kayak and one oar. And first thing I noticed, my kayak was leaking, and the compartment was filling in front. So I got halfway around the island and decided to empty it, and started back because I knew I'd be in trouble. And before we even started that morning, that noon, one of the Italians that rented the kayaks would say, "Joe, you stay right here and don't go out of the harbor area." We, being Americans, we knew more than he did, I guess. And so as I got halfway around, I turned back, and as I got almost inside of the harbor, it was about a mile away, the wind had come up, and those waves were as high as my head in that kayak. And it wasn't long before my kayak swamped, and I was beat up against the wall of the island. It was a sheer wall, kind of scoriated, and I had waves hitting over my head, then they'd suck out from under my feet as I tried to cling to that wall with my kayak. And so that lasted a few minutes, and I finally kicked off from that wall and went out to sea again. And as I could see a few rocks, and it looked like a place you could maybe hold up for get ashore. It's a little spit of land, and so I walked back and forth there for about half hour, went from rock to rock, and a sequence of waves. They seemed to get 3 or 4 low ones and one high one, and so you catch a high one and like catch a big one and get into to the next rock. Finally got to shore and find the bottom of the sandy beach, and then I looked up and saw a American patrol boat. He was out there about a quarter-mile away. I waved and yelled. He just kept putting onto the marina, and so I started getting a little bit dusk, and I decided I better try to spend the night there. So I got up and poked around up under some brambles, and lo and behold, there was a set of steps going up the wall, and just wide enough to step on, like Indian steps almost. But someone cut them into that wall, and I was able to start up those steps. And as I kept getting higher, it kept getting a little wider, and finally, after about 700 or 800 feet wide, it was wide enough like a trail. And as I got up I intersected the trail going to the castle of Tiberias, and I started down the trail, but I was all beat up from being beaten by the waves, and I was skinned up pretty badly, and all I had on was a t-shirt and a pair of trunks, shorts, and I came upon about 4 Italian kids, and they were playing there in the trail, and as they saw me, why, it was like an apparition to them. And they scared them, and they started running down the trail to their house. The house was right on the trail. They had a Dutch door, and this big Italian lady came up to the door and opened the door and says, "Hey Joe, come in, we fix." And so I said, "No, I can see the town down ahead, and I'll go down to the dispensary." I knew they usually had a dispensary in every little town. And so I made it down to the town, and they patched me up. A naval corpsman was on duty that night. And then on the way back to Isle of Capri, back to the Naples, at the end of our trip, why, I met one of the other guy that
You told about going back to get the boat last year. You went back the next day to get the kayak.
Oh yeah.
Don't want to skip part of this.
No. Next day I gave the guy the guy that rented the kayak a carton of cigarettes, which was equivalent to $20 in those days. And then on the way back home from our stay over there, why, I met one of these guys that originally started out, and he said his partner was still in the hospital, and he had just got out. And the same thing had happened to them when they came around the point on the windward side of the island. And one guy was still in the hospital, but he felt lucky to be out. The Navy rescued them, patrol boat. They told him about me, and so I guess they was out looking for me at that time.
So maybe that's why the one boat went by
Yeah.
when you was going up. Okay, well, that's an interesting story. I'll shut it off. There we go.
Grandpa had a old hole.
This is Fred Glass. Grandpa.
No. This is Grandpa Turpin.
Oh, Grandpa Turpin. Edwin. Oh, we'll stop. We'll try this again. Okay, so you were talking about Edwin Ezekiel Turpin, your grandfather Turpin.
Right. Turpin. Well, I learned a lot from him about mother about him, but he had an old hoe that he was always hoeing in the garden, and that thing was so old and used so much that it was only about 2/3 of a hoe, and it was an arc down the end.
Just a minute, and I went the wrong way.
About half a hoe now.
Well,
Yeah, well, show me with your hand what you're talking about.
it was about one. It was curved like a moon, and it's about. George says a half a hoe, which is about right, and he'd hoed so much with that hoe that was all that was left of it, and we used to go down there and talk to him.
I think I remember hearing something about that hoe being sharpened on the sidewalk.
I
Yes,
believe that's so.
yes.
Yeah, on the rough concrete.
Well, as I remember, the sidewalk, this would be between the house and the driveway?
Oh, it was dirt driveway,
Yeah,
so we had a sidewalk.
but
going back.
there was a smoothness to it. It'd been smoothed.
Oh yeah. It was,
But it was still rough. It'd be
oh, yeah.
quite coarse. It cut into the metal. Okay.
Well, one time we were there, and I asked him about his grandfather. I said, "Do you remember your grandfather?" "Yeah, I can remember him." I said, "Well, when was he born?" "Oh, well, as I remember, he said he was born in 1775." And I thought, 1775, that's when the country was first started. And yeah, he said, I said, "What can you remember about him?" And he said, "Well, something about the chickens, that they had chickens, and maybe he fed them, but that's what he can remember about his grandfather." So, and I thought that was amazing. Go back clear to the time the country was first founded, and the time of George Washington. He didn't say anything about the cherry tree, though.
Maybe I missed. Did you identify which grandfather this was?
Now, this is Edward we're talking about.
Yeah, and him remembering, but he'd have two grandfathers.
Oh, I don't know which one. Yeah, you're right. He would have two grandfathers. But he could remember the one that he was telling me about.
It'd probably be. We could look in the family history and see which one passed away last. Probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
I never thought about which one. Probably was interpreting it. They're the living ones. So well, maybe George remembers more about Grandpa interpreting.
No.
Well, we would go down there and he'd have a tuft of hair right here in the center. And he was rather dignified and shrewd. And we always could relate to him. He was real tolerant of us boys. And so I guess he appreciated us coming down and mowing the lawn. It was quite a little trek with 1.5 miles with a lawnmower. I remember one time the lawnmower we never knew what oil was until we ran out of it on the gears of that lawnmower going down there. You know, put some oil on it. It was amazing what difference that made.
So this would be a more that would spin around in the front.
Yeah, it was just a push mower.
Yeah, and the blades would have a little weren't straight across, little curve to them, and on a kind of like a cylinder.
Yeah, you were the motivator.
I think we've got a picture of Glenn Glass pushing a mower like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
A moving picture, and a dog biting his pant leg.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's the type of mower it was.
Well, then when Grandpa was bedfast, or our grandma had moved over to his house, and she was going, my grandma Glass
that Jessamine.
Jessamine had moved in, and she was supposed to give him meals and things, and she wasn't able to help him much. And so when he wanted to get into bed or out of bed, I remember I was about a little older than George, and probably the strongest, and I was able to lift him up. I think he only weighed about 86 pounds, and lift him, and I thought, man, I could just lift him right up. And being a young kid, I was amazed I could lift him. He was just like a skin and bones.
I remember doing the same thing. Picked him up and carried him to the bathroom, which is about 10 feet away, where the stool was.
Okay. So I think this would be on the west side of the house, probably.
This is
Yes,
west side of the house.
yes,
Well,
that's right. West
we had
side.
indoor plumbing, I think, at that time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and the bedroom was right next to the bathroom.
Right.
I remember Jessamine being in that room in the bed,
Oh, do you?
just a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's
She
the
was
same.
talking about cockleburrs in her coat when she picked berries. And that's all I remember of her.
Well, you were pretty young to remember her.
Well, I was probably told that that was Grandma. And
Well,
so I'm guessing he was somewhat same place. They're
yeah, same
next,
bed.
same, yeah, that would be handy. The bed was, as I remember, the head of the bed was right by the bathroom door.
Right. Well, I can remember Grandma Turpinning making some nice, or cookies. We would occasionally, when we went down there, she'd have some cookies or something. And how good they were.
Okay?
I remember them also.
You remember what?
The cookies.
Oh,
I remember the cookies.
Now, why would you remember the cookies?
They were
seemed
very,
like
very
a
good
in your
eating.
life. Of a kid.
Where you get started.
So I'm started.
White pickup truck.
Finished with Grandpa and Grandma.
Okay. So,
Grandpa Glass, I can remember him very well.
okay, so his name was Fred Ulysses.
Fred Ulysses.
Yes,
The
yes.
Ulysses was from Ulysses S. Grant, the
Okay.
president, when he was born, or approximately. Because he was a hero after the Civil War. Grant took Richmond was a statement a lot of people think. So his name was Fred Ulysses Grant. And
The president's name was.
And
And
one thing so vivid in my mind about Grandpa Glass was he wasn't averse to using a few cuss words. And one time an airplane was flying over, and he all the way across the sky, that thing was going put across the sky, and any damn fool that would fly in one of those things ought to be killed. He deserved. He just kept carrying on all the time.
I remember that plane.
And he was walking to the house from the barn, and all the time he was watching that airplane.
And it was flying from the
west to
south.
the east.
Well, I was thinking it was a yellow plane flying across the sky going from north to south.
maybe it happened more than once.
Well, it was.
Well, that could be.
He would curse them out anyway
He really had a fit.
about flying, and Dad never would fly. I don't know, it might have rubbed off on him, but I was always. George and I were always up in trees and trying to fly.
And I think I heard about at least one flying lesson that my dad took, and you,
More than one.
and did you volunteer to be in an airplane in the war, or was that an assignment?
I think I was drafted, and
They decided what you did.
then I was put in the infantry and the medical corps, and I didn't like that at all. The infantry was all right, but I spent 3 months in Texas and in the medical corps. And it was not for me. I got a chance to. At that time, they were needing pilots and Air Force personnel, and So I applied for cadets and passed the cadet exam and got into the flying program for 10 hours of instruction. Then I proceeded with that until they washed me out when I went to Nashville for a real exam, when they give you quite an extensive exam. And they paid a lot of attention. They had psychiatrists and psychologists and all kinds of coordination exams. And I didn't do well, so they sent me to gunnery school.
Okay, I was curious about that.
Gunnery school here in Colorado,
Oh, okay.
here in Buckley Air Force.
Should I guess that something happened as a result of that?
Well, I looked out from Denver and I saw the mountains. So I got to go out there and see those mountains. On the way out, closest I could get was the interurban line. Went out and got out this Sheridan Boulevard here in Denver, and end of the line. But I went to a grocery store there and inquired about going in front of this end of the line. The guy said, and there's a little old lady that came along.
His mother-in-law.
Anyway, future mother-in-law.
Yes.
But well, I know there's the interurban goes on now. But she looks at her watch and says, I don't know how soon it goes. So we went outside. She had a little red car, little red V8 Ford that was a 1932 model. And she also had a daughter. And it said, she asked Pearl, I said, how long will it be for the interurban to go? And Pearl said, well, it'll be another 45 minutes or hour, because it ran hourly. And I think Mom says, well, would you want to go home and have lunch with us? And so I got invited out to dinner.
Hmm.
And I did get to the mountains, so they had enough gas to go up to Evergreen, and we went skating that afternoon up at Evergreen.
That was an interesting story. Okay, so go ahead.
I spent the winter, the 7th grade, I was in grade school. Went to Forest Flower School and spent the winter with her. That was quite educational for me because she was a generation older, and we got along amazingly well. And I could help her do things around the house, and she was the age when she needed someone that was able to do things around, like get the firewood and take care of the cow, and milk. And Dad would come over once a week and supply us. We had a grocery store on the corner of what's the highway, 34?
34, yes.
So we had a little grocery store and gas station there.
You folks had the grocery store and the gas station.
Oh, Mother was the one that ran the store for the most part,
Okay.
and the gas station.
So where were you folks living at that time?
Our Don Turpin lived
Okay. Just south of Route 34 there, and a
Just
mile
north of the,
north of the 34. Yeah, I had the direction
where
wrong.
Don Turpin
Yeah,
bought the place.
yeah.
Before
Just-
you get to school.
That property bordered on the highway.
Yeah.
Yes.
The house was further back, but the property
Yeah.
bordered on there. What was you going to say, Grandpa George?
I already said it.
Oh. So that's where you folks were living.
Yeah.
So where was Jessamine living?
Oh,
She was at the
she-
Edwin Ezekiel place,
Well,
a mile north and a quarter mile east.
when Grandpa was
West.
West.
was alive, why, she lived with him over at, it was clear over 7 miles from where the filling station was. We used to drive the cattle back and forth.
Okay.
That was
7 miles, yes.
That was quite an ordeal.
A fun ordeal.
Okay.
We
So
enjoyed-
yeah, and that'd be almost straight north and maybe a little, and then you turn east a little bit.
Yeah,
Quite a little.
they called it the Angling Road where it was.
Oh,
Yeah, that's where Mother and Dad lived afterwards. Mother and Dad, after they, well, they went back to the
so
Grandpa Turpin's place and stayed there for a while, and then finally they moved over on the Angling Road to what they call the Saul Smith's place. And that Saul Smith was S-O-O-L.
okay.
I always thought it was A. I never heard of S-O-L for Saul, S-A-U-L. But Saul Smith was, Dad always said Saul Smith, and I thought, well, it was like the biblical Saul.
So Fred, and let's see. For
Fred-
now, where the flashing light is on now I can't say the highway going north out of Galesburg,
150.
150. So Glenn Glass grew up west of that flashing light.
Yeah.
And there'd been a reference to him going north across the field to his grandparents' place,
Oh,
right?
yeah, I would probably.
Yeah, there was, maybe he'd said it, something about going across the field, spent a lot of time going across, just go across the field north and to his grandparents.
They never talked about that. Yeah, that would be, Calvin. Would it be?
Well,
No, what's the other grandpa?
I don't know.
if he went across the field north,
Who did you go see the house? What was the
turn the camera off for a little bit.
He was starting to say something about Lynette and Lou.
Oh, Lynette and Lou. They figure out every penny. Like, they know exactly how much money they're making. And it's paid off.
Okay. We stopped to, we were enjoying our conversation, but we stopped to figure out who was living where of the grandparents and great-grandparents. And I think we mostly got that figured out, didn't we?
Yeah.
So, we were talking about where Fred Glass lived. So, did we get that figured out where Fred Glass
Yeah.
was living when you were little at least?
Yeah. He's
7 miles.
7 miles north of where this gas station was on Route 34, and
about 5 miles west of 150
Okay, where there's a flashing light now on 150,
north of Galesburg.
north of Galesburg, yes. So you go north of Galesburg on 150 to where there's a flashing light, which is across from Henderson, from
Right.
Old Henderson. And so you continue from that point west of Old Henderson
To the curve in the road.
to the curve in the road. Okay, so where from the curve in the road? The curve in the road was just west of that was Forest Flower School, you said, on that corner. And there's a house there now, I think it's brown in color. The
Yeah.
school's been built over and you can't recognize that it's,
The road curves to the north, and it's another road that
What turns to the north?
that blacktop coming from 150.
Oh,
Going west from Old Henderson. That road turns north. There, and that's where Forest Flower School was.
No. From Henderson's way.
Old Henderson, just
he's
outside.
right.
There's a North Henderson and a Henderson,
Oh, is it?
sometimes called Old Henderson.
Oh.
Now that's where Seymour's buried, I believe. Is at
Where he used to live anyway.
I think Seymour's buried at Henderson Cemetery,
I think maybe so.
and there's a millstone there.
Oh.
That's Calvin, isn't it?
Yeah, that's up near Galesburg.
Yeah, just outside, just north of Galesburg.
Yeah, just north of Galesburg.
That's Henderson.
Right, and
That's
so
called
Old Henderson.
Henderson, it's usually called Henderson, but I think it's sometimes called Old Henderson to distinguish it from North Henderson.
Oh,
yes, you're right.
Because otherwise there'd be two Hendersons. And so just north of Galesburg is a town called Henderson, and you go out west, and you hit 150, and
Cross
and at this time there's a flashing light there, or a light of some sort, and you continue on going west until that road, the main road, the blacktop, turns north,
Yes,
and that's where
and you can go south.
and you can go south. Yeah, it's gravel, I think.
Yes,
And that and just west of that blacktop, if it was a four-way corner, it'd be the northwest place is where Forest Flower School was. Is that correct?
Yep. Pretty close.
Okay, so now we're talking about where Fred Glass was living when you were growing up, and which way was that from that corner?
back east a mile.
Back east a mile. Okay. People named Nelson live there now, and they have.
It isn't quite a mile.
Yeah. Okay. And they've. It's kind of down from the road. It's on the south side.
No,
No,
north side,
north side. Oh, wrong. I keep doing that.
the high point of the road.
And-
The creek.
What'd you say?
The creek between the house and the barn and the old scale shed that used to be there. There's a draw.
Yeah. The house is up high,
Yes.
and the barn's fairly high, but it goes down.
Oh, it slopes on down towards the creek
Okay.
on the house side.
Okay. So that's where Fred was when you were kids, and that's where your dad grew up.
Yes.
And
He started growing up with Grandpa Fred Glass being sheriff of Warren County.
oh, so where were they living then? Probably
I don't
Monmouth
know.
area.
They lived in, they had quarters there in the courthouse, I think. Or at least he had an office there.
So he'd probably have to be fairly close to Monmouth.
He may have,
I don't know.
he may have just moved to Monmouth for the period he was sheriff. Well, he was sheriff I got his gun, and Lou got his gun from me. And I told him a story about, or Dad told him a story about, the only time he shot the gun was after somebody was trying to get away from him. And he said he shot the gun and hit the wire. The guy was climbing a fence, and he hit the wire, and the guy gave up.
Okay.
The barbed wire.
Oh, yeah. That would be enough to make somebody want to give up if it was hit very far out.
Well,
Might be anyway.
he probably had a hold of that
Yeah, and that,
barbed wire fence he was getting over.
that could be bad if it was much tension on that.
I got pictures of Grandpa in his office down in Monmouth. And Dad was quite a little terror, about 2 years old. Everybody knew him.
I thought he was 4.
Well, it'd probably be sheriff for more than a year.
Yeah, he would probably more sheriff for a couple of years anyway.
Okay, so there was people, I remember my grandfather saying something about going, I think that he'd said something about going across the field, going north to his grandparents' house. And you, Everett, had said that would sound correct.
Northeast to Grandpa. I mean to...
Okay, I thought he said he went right straight north, just took off across the field.
well, may have.
Might be the easiest way to go if there's row crops. I don't know what there would be. So how much did you guys go to Forest Flower School, just for curiosity?
Just him.
Okay.
I was taking care of Grandma the year I took, the winter I spent going to Forest Flower School.
Okay. So your grandma was in that house that we just described on the what's now the blacktop. And so Glenn Glass probably would have gone to Forest Flower School. That's just what
Yeah.
hits me.
Who do you think?
Glenn, your dad would have gone to
Forest Flower School.
probably.
That's probability, yes.
What can you tell me about who was living where? There was somebody living on west or something from Forest Flower School that we just got done talking about.
Charlie Glass.
Charlie Glass lived west of Forest Flower School.
No.
Oh,
North Forest Flower School.
Oh, west.
Is west.
Due west.
There wasn't a road through there.
No, there wasn't any road. But he still lived there. Like, you
No.
don't have
He
to need a
lived here
road.
north about, well,
so this Charlie would be brother to who?
To Grandpa Glass, my grandpa.
To Fred.
It's Fred and Charlie.
well, Charlie Glass lived on the England Road.
No, it didn't. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was.
And then England Road and north of Price's, so it would be west.
Due west.
Yeah, you're right, due west.
Okay. So, okay, what other memories do you have, or things that your dad's told you about your ancestors or whatever? Can you come up with?
Yes.
Now that we've got the locations, somewhat of an idea where we're talking about, because otherwise you start talking about things and then we're trying to figure out where. We got some of the where figured out.
Do you want to go to when Dad set
Sure.
Everett down on the old cistern where Don Turping
So this is,
lived after we'd moved
yeah.
there?
So Don Turpning lived on that where you guys had the gas station and store, you said, on
Yes.
Route 34. This
Yeah.
would be between Galesburg and Monmouth.
Well,
The
Before-
old 34, and it's got a new number now. I don't remember what it is.
64.
64. Okay.
He set Everett down on the cistern and was telling him about he says, I want to tell you this because you'll remember better than George will. He's younger. So he was telling him about the price of hogs, price of corn, and that was in the Depression time. And Everett forgot all about it, and I was the one that remembered.
So why did you need to know the price of corn and the price of hogs?
We were in the middle of a depression.
Well, money was tight, yes, but you
No.
weren't the one selling the hogs or the corn.
Yeah, we were.
Oh,
We
because
had-
he was busy with the gas station.
Oh, we had corn and hogs too. I mean, we still
I
had,
wasn't in school.
we still had a farm, but we had a big old, we had a hog that was the biggest hog I ever saw. And during the Depression, we put him in a trailer and took him to town and got $15 for him. And Dad, the corn was 10 cents a bushel, or roughly.
Okay, this is why you needed to know. Okay.
Yes.
So how much corn went into this hog, and how much are you going to have to get for him
We got $15,
to pay for the corn?
barely.
And Dad gave Hogan's during the Depression meat so that they'd have food to eat. And that made a connection between us and Hogan's as being friends.
Well, I knew Hogan's were around a lot and talked about a lot.
They were very good friends of my folks. And they came out frequently. Frank Torley was, and his wife, family came out. Earl Olson's family were good friends with folks. But we've lost track of the Olson family,
Which family?
both families.
Oh,
The Olsons particularly.
Yes, the Olsons particularly.
Dad never did like their son, Forrest. He thought he was leading us astray, and
He was.
he was a kind that would lead you astray. I remember one time when Forey Olson came out, and the roads were just newly gravelled, and the north.
he's laughing already.
I know the story.
They had a row of gravel on one side of the road. I thought, oh, gee, or Forrest, I guess, got the idea.
Yes.
He says, wouldn't that be something?
Blame it on Forrest, who's not here to defend himself, huh?
He said, wouldn't it be something to turn that row of gravel, it was about 8 inches high, and turn it across the road and someone get stuck in it? Well, we never thought about anybody getting stuck in it. I mean, what really would happen? But so we turned that row, like a row of
Pushed it with her hands.
the gravel across the road. And then it was just after dusk, and we were just starting to go back to the house, and here come a car. We could hear it.
Here
roaring.
comes Tanner Glass.
And we knew who it was before he got there because he had a Model A Ford, and it was going full speed up this road, and this pile of gravel, row of gravel, across the road, and man, when he was roaring up the road, and I thought maybe he'll slow down. Now, and see that, he never saw it at all. Boom! That thing must have went up in the air and crashed down and would have settled down like airplane crashing. And he just kind of limped up the road to the filling station. And he got up there and he told Dad, he said, someone put a,
Oh, some bad language went on.
bad language. And someone put something in the road. But he never realized he hit the gravel.
So he didn't know what he hit. Somebody put something out there.
He knew he hit something. The thing practically took off, crashed back to earth.
Very
So how-
unhappy people.
We felt, and well, we were, Forey, Olson, and George and I were walking up towards the filling station, across the pasture. Here we met Dad coming across the pasture towards us. Whose bright idea was that? Putting something in the road. And he laid it in the, you guys go to bed. Forrest, you go and up to your folks. And so we went to bed. And it was about a month later, Dad was telling somebody
Sit down.
about Tanner Glass. Tanner and Dad was, they were cousins, but they were competitive cousins. Tanner could tell a bigger story than Dad. Dad was stretched a little bit when he's talking about Tanner, and when he told a story about to somebody about Tanner hitting that gravel, and he was laughing, telling stuff. We never thought it was really funny until Dad was laughing about it. Then it became funny.
So how old were you guys, and how old was this Forey?
Well, he was a year or two older than we were.
That's where he got the ideas. A
Uh,
little more mature then. So where were they living? Olsons must have been living close
They
by.
lived,
Galesburg, east side of Galesburg.
Oh, really?
yeah.
How do you get clear out there?
Oh, they'd come out and see us.
Oh, they, okay. They drove a car out there.
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a little expensive.
Forrest wasn't a welcome
Dad could see
company after that.
Dad could see through Forrest that he was trouble.
You guys just thought he had good ideas.
No, we knew he was trouble, but we put up with him.
It seems like I remember something about hedge balls being in the road.
No, not in the road. Dad was teaching school, and they have hedge ball fights. And Dad threw those hedge balls with the boys, and he threw them as hard as he could throw. And a hedge ball is heavy, and they would hurt.
It was unforgiving.
Yeah.
And it'd sting you, too.
Now, Mike Glass thought Dad was super as a school teacher.
I don't know why he didn't.
He went to school with Dad, but
Oh, he went to school with your dad.
No, to Dad.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Dad
Yeah.
was the teacher.
Okay.
And Mac, they had a relationship with them. They were like son and father.
Okay.
Well, Dad was always interested in flora and fauna and flowers and things like that. Mac was too. So
So flora and fauna, a different way of saying that is plants and animals?
plants mostly.
Okay.
Flowers and plants. Like fauna was flowers.
Okay.
Well, I can remember Mac was explaining that Dad had explained. Dad would take more time to explain to other people than he would his own kids.
Well, you guys were supposed to know it all already,
Well,
right?
we learned a little from him, but we were kind of secondary students.
Dad wasn't what I'd call a good farmer. What we learned about farming and good management was Herb Peterson. Herb hired Everett and I to come help him hay, and he had some real good ideas and how to do things for yourself. And he was a good farm teacher about farming to us. We run hogs down, do whatever was to be done with hogs, butchering and whatever. We putting up hay, and he had all the shortcuts. He was a good manager.
Okay, and you, George had said that you learned a lot of mechanics from Malcolm,
Roy Malcolm.
Roy Malcolm, and how to work on engines,
Yes.
stuff like that,
Yes.
which you enjoyed doing.
Yes. That's a winter job. Working on rebuilding tractors and overhaul jobs. Did a lot of that.
Okay.
He was good.
Since we're on the subject, wandering in this direction, you had some experience with the Krupps involving mechanics, didn't you? Was you working with them some, or?
Yes. Quite a little.
Well, just being neighbor farmers.
Okay.
Yeah, they were.
But the Krupps were into airplanes.
Yeah.
And what?
Into airplanes.
Well, Roy bought an airplane.
And ended up being a couple of airplanes somebody had, right?
Well, that was me. He had a little radio operated
Oh,
airplane.
I thought Krupps had a couple of airplanes there at one time.
Well, Billy Krupp was a crop sprayer. He sprayed crops with his airplane.
Oh, you're talking about Ray Krupp,
Yeah.
Bill Krupp. Yeah, he's a neighbor. And
Sounds like you guys got around pretty good. I shouldn't have cut you off.
I traded a lot of work with. We helped one another a lot. Ray was old enough to be my father, and he and I got along just beautifully. Real pleasant person to be around. He had a hay rope hanging from his track for the carrier Yes, and had me climb the rope. It's about 30 feet up. It's the highest barn in the neighborhood. And I climbed that rope. Ollie's carrier, Ray was very appreciative with me climbing the rope for him while that carrier so put loose hay in the loft.
Okay. Well, let's see. I'll bring up grandparents again and great grandparents, and I like what we've covered, but I'll take us back to that, because otherwise we won't get back to that if you can
I
come up with.
think about ran out.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you refer back to the videotape that Dad and Mother took to get history from people that they visit.
I referred to such a thing.
Well,
Oh.
you need to refer to the videotapes that had been made of family that they had taken.
Okay, but that's not going to cover their parents. That's going to cover some of the things, pictures that they took later in life,
I
the
think we've been through the,
the digging out of the pond and stuff like that.
yeah.
Do either of you know where Grandma Black lived? Okay.
I knew there was a black thing.
Well, Grandma Black was Seymour's wife.
Oh,
So that'd be where Seymour lived, I guess.
yeah.
So,
I never heard much about her.
so
She was a Mormon.
She was what?
She was Mormon,
Oh, she was.
and
that causes
that's part of the reason
part of the reason I'm asking. Because
No,
keep track of that.
I
So that'd be where Seymour lived, I guess.
Seymour was so far ahead of, I mean, I don't even remember ever. I think I was just a baby at the time he would probably die.
Okay.
I don't know how old he was or anything about him. I don't know how come Dad never said much about Seymour or Grandpa.
Well, your parents had history of Knox County, of that he'd given to somebody. There was a newspaper person came out and asked him about the history of Knox County,
Oh, is that
and that was in a box in that tin shed.
Is that the one that Seymour Glass's papers?
Somebody from a newspaper came out and interviewed him before he died, asking him about history of Knox County.
Oh, is that so?
Knox County or Warren County?
Warren County. Well,
That
let's
was
see. Yeah.
Knox County, wasn't it?
Why?
The line, Knox County line would be,
Yeah, he was in Warren County rather than Knox County.
Okay. Some of his history went into Knox County.
Oh, definitely.
Then that's probably why I'm saying Knox County.
Well, he was just a little bit the Warren County side. Let's see. You carry that road on south to Highway 34. What is it, 64 now? But the county line was just east.
the west end of the west edge of the airport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, no, it's another mile west. of
So-
the-
So where was he living late in life? Do you know?
who?
Seymour?
Well, he lived there by the Forest Flower School.
Okay. And which, was he the house that was real close to the Forest Flower School?
Right.
Okay. And you're saying it was was it on the north side of the road and slightly east? A little bit
It was
east?
on the west. There really wasn't a road. It's kind of a lane, just went back there to that house.
Oh, which direction from Forest Flower School then?
Southwest.
Southwest, okay.
Cynthia and I went there before she died, and I took pictures of it, of the Seymour's house.
Okay,
And all vine covered, the wood was rotting pretty bad, but still had a roof on it.
that makes a difference.
Yeah, wood making. But that's the reason I was thinking it was such a memorable historical place that if George could go there, it might be restored some way. But George says it's all gone.
Yep.
You want to turn it off? About that.
Well, tell me about that then.
Well, we went over north to spend the night with an old pickup truck that Everett and I bought together. But we all weren't old enough to have a driver's license, stuff like that.
Well, we didn't even have driver's license.
Anyway, we went over and spent the night in the timber, and before we went to bed, it got dark, and the car came from the south going north, and we were at the west edge of Grandpa, our father's property.
So this is where the pond was later, Lex's Anglin Road?
Oh.
Well, it was at the west side.
You know where Luval is?
Well, you know where you lived on the by the Adcocks, Robert Adcock, the underground house.
Oh, okay. I know where Robert Adcock lived.
Okay,
So this is the road north, going north from where your gas station was
yes.
on 34.
Well, so this, what I'm speaking of, is where Grandpa and Dad and Mother's timber began.
Okay. And the timber property bordered on one side on the Lex's Anglin Road.
No, it ran into the
Well, we're talking about where you lived in the underground house, and another half mile from your underground house would put you very close to the corner of Dad's property.
Yes. But the other side of that property was on the Lex's Anglin Road.
No,
No?
Yeah, Dad did have some property over there.
yes, but where you want
Okay,
me
so
to tell
there,
about,
where you're talking about is the T corner.
George is talking
yes,
about
T corner,
And it's only just down a couple of houses and then it dead ends.
yes,
And the other road's a
West.
through road that goes on up to
yeah,
where the highway,
where the bridge is to Anderson Creek.
yeah, Henderson,
And
to
also-
the Henderson Creek to the north and where you guys had the gas station would be
Yeah.
noticeably south, several miles.
So what you're wanting to find out is the location of where we were. So.
Well, that's not real important, but
Well, we were in his timber and probably 300 or 400 yards from the road. And we had the whooping cough. And we had a .22 rifle with us. And we got out in the middle of the road. I
Well,
think,
what are you doing out in the middle of the road? That's
well, there's a car stop there.
Oh, a car stop.
Yes. And we were on either side.
why don't you back up and tell about this car?
Well, I'm telling you about
Okay.
the car. And we found that there was a man and a woman in the car. And they were in the back seat of the car. And we knew what was going on in the back seat.
Did you?
And
You
in
didn't
the
tell
minute-
me. You didn't tell me what's going on.
Well, anyway, one of us we both had the whooping cough, as I remember. And one of us was in the middle of the road in front of the car and started coughing. And the other was back behind it. And I think they coughed a little bit too. And the car was still sitting there. We carefully, quietly moved around to behind the car, and we were probably 100 feet behind the car, and we fired a couple of shots that would glance the bullet by the car.
What?
You don't remember that?
What about the bullets doing what?
Yes, bullets. We had a 22 rifle,
So,
and
the bullets did what?
they hit the road and then zing by the car. Hey, that car got on the move in a hurry.
I
You
don't
wouldn't
remember-
believe how fast they
I don't
got to
remember,
the steering wheel.
I don't remember anything shooting towards the car.
I didn't remember the story having shooting in it before either.
Well, it happened again,
Oh, this.
but I don't remember if Everett was in on that or not.
I was
don't
thinking. You
remember
said you got
I don't remember the coughing.
you had to cross the road. The two of you were approaching this car, and there was a couple of levers in it, and you was going to be one on each side of the car, and you, George. Now I don't remember things correctly, but I was thinking you said you was crossing the road to get the other side, and
It
you
was,
started to whoop.
it was in front of the car about 100 feet, 50 feet to 100 feet.
Who cares?
And one of us was up in front of the car, started hoofing, and couldn't quit. We weren't intending for that to happen, but it did. But it might have made things more interesting.
And a whooping cough, since younger people don't know what a whooping cough is, it's a cough where you cough and then you go and
Yes,
drawing air because it's a very hard cough.
yes.
And I said I didn't remember the shooting, but I did remember that you did shoot, but not anything about shooting toward the car.
Oh, I don't know.
That was the plan, was
Oh,
to
he did.
have the gun go off close to the car.
Well, that was all.
Okay. I'll pause. Okay. You remembered one thing.
You walked from Galesburg straight west till you got to the road that
T-cornered, yes.
went north
Yeah.
by the, well, is the corner where the stations were.
Be
And-
Fremont Street going out
Yes,
past the high school. I was coming from the high school.
yes,
And I walked home with somebody. I don't remember who it was.
no, well, you might have walked part way with him. But when you come across the field, I picked you up on the tractor and I insisted that you get on the tractor and ride home. And you were very happy with me that I insisted.
Probably.
You wanted to be able to say that you walked all the way home. And I thought you'd walked far enough. It's
Yeah,
neat.
I'd gone around. I didn't go through. I don't believe.
Well,
I think I followed the road.
you may have.
Later made that on a bicycle.
Well, you came across the field, and we're on the north side of the field that I was farming.
I didn't
And
remember.
Lucy had some ground.
Okay.
Lucy had ground there, south of Trough's and south of George Nelson's farm. And that's where you met me. And
Well, I would have been on the road then, right?
Well, you just come across the field.
Okay.
And I insisted you go home with me on the tractor. And you wasn't happy a bit. You were
Put in all that work walking home and ride the last little bit.
You were very unhappy with me. But I thought I was doing it for
That I needed to get home.
Good father.
Probably my mother thought I needed to be home too.
Well, I think she was on your side, and I was hanging out there by myself.
Okay. Ending? Probably. What? We'll start there. It says it's recording. Oh, you got one of those.
We got a
too.
Sony too. Everybody's got a Sony.
Maybe we'll start with Glenda.
All right, we're starting. Are you movie? You doing the movie, or are you just photograph? Can you take a photograph with that as well?
Yes?
Yeah.
But I don't plan to.
Oh, really? You're just going to film? See, I almost like the photographs better.
Yeah, there's advantage to them. So why don't you, Glenda, why don't you introduce your family?
Okay, this is Philip.
Hi, Philip.
He's my third child.
Okay.
He's 15.
And you can introduce this one.
This
I
is
gotta go.
Bobby. He practically lives with us. He's 13.
And his name is Smith also.
Bobby Smith.
As well as you folks' names. So fits right in, huh?
And this is Cody Smith.
Okay.
And he's 13.
And who's this guy over here with the other camera?
It's Brian.
Take a picture of each other here.
Okay, now we need somebody to introduce on this side. Okay?
I already know who these people are.
Okay, we'll just say that there's Grandma. Say hi. Hi.
I'm
We
gonna
have two
turn,
cameras on you right now, Grandma, from both angles.
I'm going to turn this off.
We're getting both the left and right side.
Dog Ever.
I'm going to, maybe I can get over here. Do it slow enough so I don't make people dizzy to
I'm
look at this.
Grandpa Glass,
Grandpa and
This is
Grandma.
my,
14 months younger than Everett.
Then the old guy.
this is
Everett.
George Glass.
I'm Everett Glass, the Glenn Glass.
Glenn Everett.
Can't
That-
go wrong with that.
Right. Since his father
Now,
was
did you
named,
graduate 1 or 2 years ahead, or 1 or 2 classes behind him from high school?
I never graduated.
Oh, you never? Okay, okay.
what happened to you?
To me,
Yeah.
I just decided I didn't need to go any longer. I thought I was going to be a farmer. I didn't need to.
Right. Okay.
You started farming at age 16, didn't you? Basically? You started farming at, how old were you when you rented ground?
Oh, I was probably 21.
40, what?
21.
21. So you was farming,
Well, I was farming for
Constant.
myself.
But he doesn't
I
stop.
was married.
He never gets enough.
So I was farming.
He's probably farming your dad's ground.
17 or 18, something like that.
I think I heard you say once you started farming at 16.
Well, I was on the tractor at 12.
Oh yeah.
My dad came off the farm.
You did?
Right. In New York State. Upper New York State near Rochester. Right. They had about, I think they had almost 400 acres.
Wow.
That'd be prime land back then.
Yeah. They sold it when I was a kid. Or maybe when I might have been in my 20s before they sold it. They sold it off. They sold like a lot of the lots along the road as residential lots. And then they finally sold the rest of it off to somebody, I'm not sure who bought it. But yeah, it's a lot of land. It was a lot of land.
And you folks have just moved
Yep.
from down the street.
Week ago.
Yeah,
Week ago, finished the move. Or finished.
we're renovating this house. We just started.
Well, the kids are sitting nice and still and quiet.
They weren't quiet about a half an hour ago. It was a little
Neither were
noisy.
you.
We had a family. What is that?
Discussion.
The male hormones were showing their ugly heads.
Teenager.
And Dad was
issue.
trying to prove himself. I remember seeing Dad and Larry doing the same thing. I do. Chance, take a chill pill. Go lay down.
Sit down.
Well, I've been getting stories about things that these two used to do over here. So maybe we'll get a copy of that to you folks. And you can,
Oh,
Yeah, you're closer at 14 months than these two. What are they, 22 months?
no, 23.
23 months. 23 months apart. 14 months, that's about as close as you can get without, you know, something miraculous happening. And then Catherine was your sister.
No,
My wife.
Cynthia.
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 Catherine's George's
Catherine.
wife.
She was 2 years older than I am.
Oh, okay. So there was the three of you all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were depression kids. Depression era.
They got
My parents as well. Yeah.
Chance, come over here and lay down.
they got together with other kids and did lots of things, even though the kids were far apart in distance from miles. You'd go to one kid's house 7 miles one way and another kid's house 7 miles the other way, and
That's a long distance. So how big was your farm, or your farm?
Well, we inherited my wife's farm. I think there's 7 families
Oh, really?
inherited that, and we wound up three families
Working it?
working. We had
and you managed that for a while.
I was managing about 500 acres.
500?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Back there, that's a lot.
We
Yeah.
still got 97 or 100.
Still got 97?
You got 100 acres or
Yeah,
97?
we've got 100 acres. now.
Right. Yeah.
And we had a close call where we had corn stored in an elevator, and the guy that was running the elevator was borrowing all the money he could borrow and getting all the corn in his elevator he could. And then he went bankrupt and left the country. He went to he married a shaver from North Henderson. Henderson that was relative.
When was that?
Well, this has been quite a while.
Oh, okay.
This
Several
been
years ago.
Quite a few.
So what
Probably
happened?
20 years ago.
So,
Anyway.
so this doesn't. So how is this a close call?
This close call was where I was in high school, and the guy in the high school says, "You've got corn stored in an Oneida, in the Oneida elevator?" I said, "Yes." And this is when we lived at high school, Illinois. And he said, "Well, they're shaky, and my advice to you is that you get rid of that corn. Either sell it, get it out of there, something quick."
Why?
He heard that they was going to go bankrupt.
Oh, okay.
This guy-
So get it out of there, so the bankruptcy trustee wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
So I went and sold corn to them, and they issued me a check in 3 working days, and I picked that check up, took it to the bank, and got it in there. And a guy I knew, Lawrence Gardner, you might remember Lawrence. He got his check the same day, and his bounced and mine didn't.
Yeah.
That was cutting it close.
Oh, yeah.
yeah, would you have lost the farm?
Well, our payment was 10,000.
So the guy that paid you had just skipped the country.
Yeah.
There's only so much money left in his account.
Yes.
Yeah, I had a deal like that.
Well, this was a relative.
Yeah.
Well, his
Yeah, mine was
wife,
a client, yeah.
his wife was a relative.
His wife was a relative.
How
Max
much-
Johnson was his name.
We seized somebody's bank account that had just enough money to pay off our bill. This is about 15 years ago.
Yeah.
It wasn't a tremendous amount, it was about $6,000-7,000.
Who was that?
That was Gold Dome. Or not Gold Dome, Vactech.
Oh,
This company was going bankrupt, and they owed me about 6,000 or 7,000. And we seized it, got a court order, went in there, and the bank seized the money, and then like the next day they shut down. So we got our money in the nick of time. And then they tried to get it back.
Well, they did.
Yeah. And we actually went to court over it, and they ruled in our favor. Yeah. I can't remember why they wanted. They had something that they said that we didn't take it properly or something. I can't remember all the details. But the judge basically laughed at him and said, "Sorry, they got it. It's theirs. You know, this case is closed." You know.
I'm gonna shut this off.
Okay.
Anytime.
Well, Catherine and I were sleeping, and we were awakened in the night with loud walking in the living room or dining room at the Ed Turpin house, and I really thought it was people out there, and I went out to peeked around the corner to see what was going on in the room, and here was a mother sheep and about 2 lambs, and they were tromping around in the room, and we were quite surprised. The front door was not locked, and they butted the door in. It wasn't much good. So run the sheep out of the house and went back to bed. Middle of the night.
Do I remember? I think I remember a story about your grandmother, you and Everett's and Cynthia's grandmother, calling up. She was hearing footsteps on the porch at night, loud stomping going on, loud walking. Remember that?
Do you remember anything about it, Everett?
No.
I just turned it off. Start over. Dad used to talk about?
You got it on?
Yeah.
Talk about a cow that walked up on the porch and there's something on the doorknob and that they licked off and the doorknob was jiggling. I don't remember. I wasn't there. It was before my time. And there's telling about this. Grandma Glass did disturbed about it. Apparently she might have been home alone.
Okay, maybe that's the grandma that it was.
Right?
Seemed like it was, maybe that's...
Jessamine,
Okay, I thought it was your grandmother.
yeah,
Yeah.
Jessamine Glass.
Yes, and I think it was, she was seeing things too. Ended up, it was white-faced cattle. She was seeing that white moving around.
I don't remember about that.
I think they was walking on the front porch at the Ed Turpning place, which was a wooden porch.
No, it was a concrete house that
Oh,
Fred Glass had
okay.
over near Forest Flower School.
Oh, okay.
End of story.
Okay.
One Halloween time, Everett and I been in Galesburg and bought a skeleton. We hung it in the chicken house. Remember that, Everett?
I do that. I remember that.
And the Cap Nelson children came over there, it's about our age, and we took them out by the chicken house. And when walked by the chicken house, one of the boys, there's two of them, George is one of them, I believe.
George, yeah.
And anyway, walked by the chicken house, he saw that skeleton, he says, "Oh God." It was hanging, this skeleton in the chicken house. The light reflected on it. We had a pole light on, I think, lit it up. We planned it ahead of time. It was fun.
I remember your dad playing. Well, let's don't have the TV on. I remember your dad playing Swanee River on the piano
Yeah.
and Camptown Racetrack. What else did he play?
He played Old Black Joe, Red Wing.
Oh, yeah. I love Redwood.
I don't remember what all else he played.
I think he probably played the same things over and over mostly, didn't he?
Well,
Yes, yes.
He
Yeah.
played,
He had about 6 of them,
oh, he had
maybe more.
some martial music,
Oh, okay.
like patriotic music.
Okay. Yeah, he probably played, did he play caissons? That one caissons go rolling along? No? Okay. Did was any of your grandparents Playing music? Piano?
Any of the what?
Your grandparents? Playing piano? Or anything of the sort? Singing particularly? Or
Not particularly.
okay.
Cynthia played
Yeah, she was played a lot of music.
an Indian song. You remember that one?
Mm-hmm.
You remember the name of it?
No.
Hiawatha or some.
Hmm?
Hiawatha, was it?
Oh, she was. I don't know if that was a song. She came out here.
She had
wanted to look up Hiawatha, and we found it in the library, Denver Library, and then we went home and I was poking around down her basement, and she had the Hiawatha down there in a book.
It's a poem, probably, right? About a couple of lovers or something.
Hiawatha.
Okay.
nothing there.
Let's see.
The year she came out here, she came out on, forgot what she came out, but she must have flown out. And we took her on a trip over to Colorado National Monument, and where Lou and Annette have their new house, and down south through Gateway, and down to Telluride, and she was so thrilled with all that country. Then we took her over Wolf Creek Pass, and there was still snow. Someone made a little snowman, and she just went, "Oh, there's a snowman!" She thought that was a wonderful thing. It was May, and they have about 10 feet of snow up there in the wintertime. So we had a great time. The guy came back here, and the geese were having their goslings, and there was a goose, two geese with 20 geese in between them, and they started up the street here, and she was realizing that the cars would be going fast across Garrison, and so we hopped in the car and took her up there, and she was in her element, stopping those cars and letting those geese go by, and the goslings. Because they walked all the way up to the other park. I smell that dog. It smells like he pooped in it.
There we go.
Well, Cynthia did a beautiful job of painting their bedroom. They had the whole room was one scene, and they had the moon up there, and an old owl and a tree.
And the owl's eyes, I think, were reflective, weren't they?
Yes, and the owl's eyes were reflected, and it was.
And the moon was reflective, and the stars reflected.
Yeah, I think so. I remember I slept in that room. I tried to.
Tried to sleep in that room. So, we still haven't heard anything about her rearranging furniture.
Well, that's all amounted to. Could you tell about Phil and the trip that he
Oh,
told?
I can't
That
can't
was,
recall enough of it to make it worth real good, like Phil could.
Yeah.
About Phil and his trip down to Florida, and it was a disaster all the way. And this fellow, she has some friend or salesman come, and this guy just about doubled up and slapped his knee when she told that story about going down to Florida and coming back.
Cynthia was a good storyteller. She could
No,
tell.
she wasn't too good.
Was that the time he had the accident? He,
Yeah, the time they had the accident.
yeah.
That was Lee was always tailgating people. You want to start? Lee was a tailgater, and if you were following somebody, he was right on
He
your
knew.
right on your tail.
Friends of theirs. They were too close. Our car in front stopped, and they hit
They
it in the
bumped.
back. Hit more in the bump, and that detained them quite a while.
It was more than a bump. It was a crash. Since he got put in had to go to the doctor and maybe the hospital, and the car was bad shape. They didn't hardly have 2 dimes to rub together when they started. And when they had this accident, well, the folks heard about it right quick because they needed some funds to fix the car to get home. And so they put the car in the shop to get it fixed. And of course, Lee was losing work all the time, and he was anxious to get home. So this newly painted car, they started home, and they hadn't even got out of town hardly before they came to the intersection, and Cynthia was supposed to be navigating. And he said, "Which way? Which way?" And he says, and the guy started honking behind, and Phil and Sally and Richie all were in the back seats. And Phil says, "Dad said words that Sally had never heard before." And she started crying. And so Lee, when the people started honking behind, Lee just tore out and went straight ahead. Well, it turned out to be the wrong road. And so he came back, repeated the same thing, and waited for, they found out which way to go, but they turned the right direction this time. But the road they started on was newly asphalted, and some guy was coming down the road after they asphalted, and he was out in front of the car, leaning over, telling the guy which way to go to keep out of the fresh asphalt. And Phil says the only time Dad ever laughed was when they passed this guy, and he was hanging out there from the car, pointing where to go, and he went by and splattered him over with that new asphalt. Well, of course, their car was newly painted, and they got up. It was Phil said it was black up to the gunnels, up to the doorknobs. And when they got home, they tried to clean it off and took the paint and everything off. And it was quite a trip.
Cynthia was a good storyteller.
Got down to into Tennessee, where this Cherokee village was.
Okay, they is Cynthia and Lee and family.
You know, well, they got to this motel in the Cherokee village. It's a real mountainous area, and they didn't have only one room, and it was a basement laundry room that they'd let somebody stay in. And so Lee and the boys, Lee slept on a bench, and somebody had mentioned snakes down there. And Lee was scared of snakes, so he slept on this bench, and he imagined snakes all night long. And Cynthia and Sally they slept in the cots in the laundry room, and they got up next morning and they just happy. Oh, how nice it is. Good morning. And Lee says, what's good about it? Because he had hardly sleep. And so they just took off and started driving because they were late already. And they took off. The first thing they hit was a detour. And they detoured around through the mountains. Drove like mad, make up time. And after they drove for about half a day or so, they started to look at the map. They found out they'd just made a big circle and came back to almost the same spot that they'd started from that morning.
He had hit a Wally road.
What?
The road that they were on that big circle. They hit oil.
No. This is a different time. This was on the way home when they had,
Oh, okay.
Oil was on the way home, you say?
yeah.
Yeah.
That was after the car was fixed.
So this is just before the oil, on the way down.
This is on the way down.
Okay.
So they made this big circle, and it was almost the same place they'd started that morning.
They tried to tell Lee that he was on the wrong road. Kids did, or
Well,
Cynthia had, or something. He got mad and kept going.
sound like Lee.
Yeah.
So where'd they spend the night?
Same place he spent it the night before.
Wasn't the same place,
Wasn't the same place.
not quite. 'Cause
Almost.
I thought it was the same
Almost.
place.
I don't think it was the same place. There weren't many places. Pearl and I drove down there through this Cherokee village about 30 years later, and it hadn't changed much. It was still Indian country, and that one motel, they call it Cherokee Village, was about the only thing in it within several
So-
miles.
So maybe they spent the night at the same place and maybe they didn't.
Very close to the same place, because Phil says we looked at the map and it made a big circle through the mountains that day.
everything in there, and then when you're ready to go.
Oh yeah, so if you're doing this more than a few times out of the summer, we're getting something else.
Yeah.
Because it just,
Well,
you just need
I
to.
wanted to get set up just had a camper on the truck and all we had to do was jump in and go.
That would be nice.
But when I
Never
was going
worked
to do
out.
that, then
Well yeah, so the
Maybe
best
load
part
the
about
food
camping
and-
is the
Yeah, but-
morning of, because everything's already loaded up and done. You kind of get to relax for a little bit.
Yeah.
Enjoy it.
Where's my Mackenzie?
The skirt's falling off. Then it's gotta be big for Mackenzie if it's falling off of her.
It's a little bit big, but the 4 was too short.
Oh,
It was way
what do
too
you got in your
short.
mouth?
look at she's,
Her
Her
necklace.
necklace.
Mm.
You love the color combo.
yeah.
Loves the right colors.
Yeah, you should have seen some of these outfits.
Tell you who you were.
That'd be good.
Doesn't, ju-
That'd be good too.
you go by what I meant, not what I said.
I'm Jeremy.
Hi, Jeremy.
Jeremy who? What's your last name?
Full names.
Jeremy Glass.
He's a chatty boy. can you tell?
And this is my wife, my lovely wife.
Yep.
Yeah, what she said. He's the blood relative, but you're not the chatty one. I'm his wife, Dana Glass, And the
I'm-
two
You're
girls.
supposed to say, I'm his lovely.
I am his lovely wife.
You started saying I'm, so I put it on you, Larry.
So who am I talking to? I'm talking to the guy behind the camera whose name is what?
Louise Chatty.
My
Who's
name's Ed Glass. I'm taking a picture
okay, the
of it.
camera's glass. Okay.
Mr. Camera, though.
Mr. Camera.
So,
Mr. Camera at Glass.
so Larry, why am I taking a picture of these people?
Yes,
Darn if I know. That's the cameraman.
You don't know how shy, camera shy he is.
He did a lot of editing.
I'm surprised he's not.
Jeremy, why am I taking a picture of you?
It's me. Just so you remember
For
what I look
future
like.
generations.
Has to show people back home, perhaps?
Who are these people over here? Oh, wow, all I see is feet from one of them.
Mackenzie, come here. Aren't they cute feet? Come here. Who are you?
Grapes.
That's right. Mackenzie loves grapes. And what happens this week? What happens? What happens in 2 days?
Kindergarten.
She's going to kindergarten. Who's that over there?
Ashley.
What's your name? What's your name?
Must be Ashley.
How old are you? How old are you? She got it. I didn't know that. I haven't seen her do that.
There was 2 fingers, huh?
Yeah. Mackenzie, how old are you?
4.
She's playing the piano.
Do you remember when your birthday is?
September.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah. Right.
So,
And you'll be how old then?
5.
5.
That's right.
She's almost 5, huh? In just a month.
And kindergarten is this Tuesday. Are you excited? What are you going to wear to kindergarten?
My yellow clothes.
Your yellow clothes.
Uh,
likes flashy clothes. You're
First day.
saying what are the colors that they're wanting?
What's your
Those
kind? What's your favorite color?
What's that outfit?
Where's
you
those
got?
grapes?
Orange.
Orange is your favorite color.
Hey,
My
That's right.
tell the camera what your name is. What's your name?
Have some grapes.
What's your name?
So, Larry, this is what? Your second son?
No.
Oh, my oldest
First
son.
one.
That's your oldest son. Okay.
The biggest,
Okay.
strongest, and the oldest.
The Navy guy.
The Navy guy.
Okay.
And Jeremy's taking helicopter lessons.
I had heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Very expensive.
I heard about
Very true.
somebody picking you up and carrying you across the yard. And you thought he was going to dump you over the fence. When you said I was the strongest, I thought maybe I better.
My little brothers act up from time to time, but I usually keep them in check.
That's your job, right?
That's
They're
right,
not
that's
so
my
little
job.
anymore.
And since these folks are here, I might as well take their picture. Especially since they say they're from Chicago.
Yeah, I'm Dan Van Hucklen, Rose Glass's brother. We're from Evanston, Illinois, and this is my lovely wife, Ann.
He got it right.
Yes, I'm Ann Van Hucklen from Evanston, Illinois. We have 3 lovely sons.
Okay, and I'll come over here so we know who Rose is.
Hello.
So, I found a couch. Oh, there you are. Okay, here we go. How did you get this?
From Dad.
Oh, you got that from Dad.
And he went over. We went to France while they were stationed in England. Or they got this letter from the King of England, George. King George, from the King, His Majesty King George the Fifth. So this is King George the Fifth.
Oh, it's wiggling a little bit.
And
Just a minute, I'm out of focus.
And it says,
I don't know which way to go. There I go. Just a minute here. So it's to Glenn Glass, Alexis, Illinois.
No, it don't.
Right here
Oh.
on the envelope.
Oh yeah, it must have been sent to Alexis, Illinois. And it says from Windsor Castle, soldier to the United States. The people of the British Isles welcome you and your way to take your stand beside the... I should read this ahead of time.
Yeah, I remember last year it was a little hard to read.
Beside the armies of the many nations now fighting in the old world the great battle for human freedom. This will gain new resort and spirit in your company. I wish that I could shake the hand of each one of you and bid you Godspeed in your mission. April 1918.
And it's signed George R. I guess it's an I don't know.
King George of England.
Okay, I'll turn this off.
We were going to camp out for the night in the timber, and we were within 200 yards of the road, and the car parked out there right near us. So we went over to investigate. It was getting dark, and as I was in front of the car and Everett was back of the car, and I was right in the middle of the road and I started coughing.
So who was in the car?
We didn't know who was in the car, but we suspected a man and a woman.
What was you planning to do with this man and woman? Go talk?
Give him a thrill.
Okay.
We had a .22 rifle, and as Everett said, he thought we shot up in the air, and I remember shooting along parallel with the car, alongside the car, glancing the bullet. So it'd be back of the car slightly and raised as it went by the car. And it throws the bullet out of balance, and it makes a lot more noise. And they'd be able to hear it better.
You wanted them to hear this bullet, huh?
Yes, we wanted to get things exciting.
Well, Everett thought he shot up in the air, and that's the way I remembered you telling it before, and he was the one that had the gun, so you guys didn't mind playing pranks on people, huh?
Oh, that was made our day.
In this case, night.
And,
Better the prank.
and they were in the back seat of the car
Hi. Okay.
in a hurry.
He took off in a hurry, huh?
And we had a good laugh, giggled about it.
You sleep good that night?
Excellent.
Okay. I'm going to stop.
Ferris.
Dad and Herb Ferris, okay.
They homesteaded together. Over up near,
You went to war together.
yeah. But they homesteaded near KC, Wyoming, south of Sheridan. And they just had a little shack. At that time you could get 100, I think it's 320 acres or 360 for homesteading that land. And I don't know whether Dad just got 360, I think.
Okay, so homesteading is where you go and live on the land, then it becomes yours
Yeah,
And
after a period of time.
and if you're
3 years.
if you're drafted into the service or go to the service, that time goes right on toward homesteading rights. So they don't lose anything by going to service. Their homestead rights are go right on.
So your dad went out there before World War One, or at least before he was involved in World War One.
Yeah, he was drafted from, or went into service from Wyoming.
Okay. He do anything to support himself while he was out there of interest?
Well, he
Taught
was a school
school.
teacher. He taught school.
And trapped.
Where?
And he had traps set up in the
Oh,
mountains.
yeah.
Okay. And you was Grandpa George. You was telling about getting his foot stuck.
He told us about that. That he got his foot down between some rocks and his toes was up and his heel was down. Took him quite a while to get out of the situation, but he finally made it.
That's
There was a
what he did.
hole up in the mountains we went to later. He knew where the hole was. It was in a valley. And the water went down into the ground. And there's a natural trap for animals in the wintertime to be walking on the snow and fall through into this pit where
It was a
There-
natural cave.
Okay.
the animals would die down there in that pit. And we got a buffalo skull from out of that pit, hauled home from out Wyoming after the war was over, and Dad had us out there visiting the Simmons Ranch. He spent quite a little time with the Simmonses. They were at the foot of the Bighorn Mountains, and the homestead was 20 miles or so out on the prairie where his homestead was. And I don't know just the location of the school he taught.
So
Probably wasn't very many kids. I think we had some pictures at one time.
We did.
Yeah.
Pretty barren country where he was homestead. But later, that got to be oil country.
after he'd sold his homestead.
Yeah.
You want to tell about him selling his homestead?
Well, as I recall,
The guy's name was Mathers.
what?
Mathers. The guy's name that got the homestead was Mathers. Mathers. Mathers.
Well, you tell what you know about it.
Well, that's about all I know. Except he came to the house where Don Turping lives, and
This would be near.
demanding his $1,000,
Oh,
and so then.
And this was during the Depression, you said.
Yeah, but Dad had
I didn't remember any.
had a homestead out in Wyoming. He gave a homestead to Mathers for $1,000.
And Grandpa Glass, Fred Glass, had played the markets and got in debt from playing the markets. Did you remember that?
Remember what, George?
That he got in debt from playing the markets?
Fred Glass.
Oh, well, I didn't know where the $1,000 was owed for, but maybe it was from Fred Glass's debts.
Well, yes, yes.
Here we go.
Down at Champaign-Urbana at the University of Illinois, I was taking agricultural courses. Of course, we had to take PE at that time, and they had some competition climbing a rope. I was, and they timed you as you climbed it, and I won the competition, and I forget what it was, something like 19 seconds to climb up the top of that rope. And
How long was the rope?
it was a rope.
How long was
I've been
20 feet.
been playing on ropes for months, years before that, because we had ropes in the barn that we swung on. We'd swing across the barn and from one end of the barn to the other and change ropes. We'd swing one out so you can catch the other one. And it goes, then land on the other end.
in climbing ropes just for doing stuff?
Well, that was,
Swinging on ropes and climbing ropes.
we were in good shape for us being monkeys.
Everett, do you want to tell about running when you was in the service?
Running?
Yeah.
Oh, I never.
On rooftops.
Uh-oh.
Where?
On rooftops.
No.
Trying to get out of.
Okay, so my dad's used to tell about his brother Everett getting in trouble in the service somehow, and had to run around the base or something like that, and ran
Oh,
around.
that was a punishment. Just around the track.
Okay,
I do remember that.
okay.
So many times around the track.
And then what happened?
Well, you got demerits for acting up or any kind of infraction of the rules. And then you just had to run somebody. They thought it was punishment, but I enjoyed it.
Okay, this is telling me the battery's dead. Whatever. Okay, and so he says you used to run extra time around just for the fun of it. Tease him. Of course, huh?
Yeah,
I think you guys did a lot of running in your youth, right?
right.
Pretty good. Easy to... No effort, this running stuff. So, how you guys seem to be in pretty good shape for running and stuff like that then.
Oh yes, yes.
So, the comment got made you didn't have bicycles?
Well, we didn't have bicycles till we got them out of somebody's junk, and we fixed bikes, tried to fix them. They didn't work very well. We started out running, and we'd go to Wilbur Turpin's, and we'd go to Squires's, we'd go to Junior Wilson's place. Be several miles away,
Each place.
each place.
And traveled on pony or horse some too, of course.
Well,
Hey, I'm watching this.
not too much on horses till
I'm
we
watching
were
this.
older.
I found it. The great. Catch me if you can.
Okay, Everett's wanting to show a movie. Will, pause. Pause for movie watching.
I don't know you.
Well, that's what you told me
Relationship.
before. You said Roberts, right?
Yeah.
That ran around with Wendell.
Yeah. Well,
Okay. And
me
who,
did
who,
too.
who are you? Jody?
Jody.
Used to be Turkmening a long time ago.
Yes. Is this?
Wendell and Mildred are your parents. And
Yes.
Kobe's your brother.
Yes.
So who's this guy beside you?
This is my
Her
husband.
probation officer.
Oh,
Yeah, somebody's got to do this, right?
my
Yeah.
probation officer. I owe him money.
Warren. Yep.
And
We're on a
he-
first name basis.
and even though she owes you money,
Right.
okay. So, what's his name?
Warren.
And last name starts with a G.
Geldmeyer.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't remember how to say it.
That's okay. That's good.
So hello and goodbye already, huh?
Hello and
All right.
goodbye. Okay.
So who are these people again?
It's Millie in the middle, and Kobe, and Jody.
And Jody is you.
And Jody is me. Okay, and then let's see.
So your mother and your brother
Yes,
and yourself.
yes.
Did you want to see this now?
Here's,
This is Millie.
this is Colin. This is our youngest son, Colin.
Ooh, I lost.
And he was, so
Okay,
that,
who is this again?
this is Colin, my youngest, Warren and Jody's youngest son.
Did you see the back one?
I think he did.
Yes,
yeah.
I did.
And then this is Dorian and Laura, our new daughter-in-law, and that's Dorian. He's our middle one. People say he looks more like me. I don't know if you see that or not, but and I have a better picture of him too. But here they are again, and these were just snapshots that were taken before the wedding, so they weren't. That one's very nice. And then this is blurry because Warren took it real quick, but that's Dorian and me. We were dancing.
Oh,
So, and then,
that's something I never accomplished.
yeah, I'm not that good at it either, George. I thought my legs were going to drop off. I am not good at dancing. This is me and my girls. So this is Meredith, our oldest, with the curly hair.
She lives in
She's the one in North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Huh? And Laura, our new daughter-in-law, and me.
Oh, very nice.
And it turned out to be just such a great wedding. Now this is Colin and his cousin Tyler, who is Colby's youngest son. So this is Tyler, Colby's youngest. And our youngest, Colin. I'm trying to see, here's Dorian and Laura when they were dancing. And Dorian was singing to her and doing motions to the song. It's one of my favorite memories. It was so cute.
That's good.
And just a few more here. There they are, smiling for the camera. Are you still there, Ed?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
Get it focused, right?
Oh, okay.
I'm out of focus. There we are.
Okay. So
There?
that,
Got him.
Dorian and Laura. And then this is my favorite picture. This is Dorian. He was watching Laura dance with her father. And he was just watching, and it was so cute. And then this is Meredith, our daughter, and some of the other bridesmaids. And this is a cute one of Mom. This Millie. And Kobe and Jody.
Yeah.
Your
Well,
mother and her two children.
Yes.
I've got pictures of you when you were.
I guess that's it, Ed.
Okay.
You were just.
Recording. So we were talking about your dad teaching school in the military and started talking about other things. Wherever you want to start.
Well, Everett knows more about his military assignment than I do, I imagine.
Well,
I don't care where you start.
he was in a veterinary clinic, and our veterinary corps they call it, in France. And I don't know how much long he was in the States before he was at Fort Sheridan up near Chicago for his basic training. And it was pretty muddy up there, and Dad was telling about the walkways were mud, and they finally were going to have some inspectors came, and they quickly got some boardwalks made. And other than that, he went to Europe and spent about a year in Europe. I remember one time he was telling about playing some martial music, and
So that martial music would be marching music, right?
yes, and not necessarily, but patriotic music.
Okay.
And he could play the piano real well. And the French, as well as all the units, were enthusiastic about his piano playing. And of course, it wasn't wasted on him. I mean, he enjoyed it too.
Okay.
So that's about all.
Okay. This was World War One, and he was involved in veterinarian. I think I heard him say that mostly he was supposed to go out and shoot horses that were injured. I don't know if he did that or not.
I don't think so.
Didn't sound like
I
it.
never heard anything about horseshoe.
Huh?
I never heard anything about horseshoeing that I recall.
Well, maybe he
Not
just...
shoeing, but shooting the horses.
Yeah.
Is that what you say?
Yes.
Shooting or shooting? Shooing.
Finishing off the horses that had been injured in battle.
Oh, I don't know. No,
He...
he didn't do that.
Okay. I had the impression he didn't, but he seemed to indicate that that's about all there was to the veterinary part of it.
Oh, there's a lot. The veterinary clinic. I mean, shooting horses as well as giving shots and things like that. So,
He did?
well, I suppose he did.
Oh.
If he worked in the veterinary corps, wasn't that much of a problem to give a horse a shot.
Well, I think he was saying he didn't do much, which
Well,
is kind of normal for the military.
Oh, that's normal.
Yeah. Okay, so it's been mentioned, I think, that as close to the front as he got was he could hear big guns. So he had mentioned that. I guess he talked about, I remember him talking about that they gave tobacco to the soldiers. And he didn't use his tobacco, he kept it. And it came in handy sometimes, he said. And he was telling, I'm telling this story because other people aren't remembering it. He was telling about they needed to catch a train. And the train started pulling out, and they waving at the train to stop, and the conductor indicated no, they were going on, and the train was moving, and they couldn't get on it. Was with their stuff, wouldn't be able to get on it, and fast enough with it already in motion. So he reached in his pocket and pulled out one of these tobacco pouches that they'd given the soldiers, issued to him, and held that up, and he said the train stopped. And he gave that to the conductor. The conductor then stopped the train. And there was another story involving tobacco pouch. Maybe somebody could tell that.
Not that I know.
Well, the button. He traded tobacco for a German prisoner or something.
Oh, maybe that might have been.
Yeah, that's what we thought the other day when we was discussing it.
And
I told the one story and neither one of you remembered it, and I said, well, the story about the button, that involved a tobacco pouch, so
I didn't know.
he was using.
I wasn't sure.
I asked
Yeah.
if it I asked it in the negative form, and you guys, somebody confirmed that it did,
Very probably.
or at least probably. Maybe that was what I got,
Well,
was probably.
I remember hearing the story about the tobacco and
Well, let's hear it.
making friends with this German.
Okay, it seems to me like I don't remember what the circumstance was, but there was German prisoners, and I remember him saying that he wanted to talk to them. That
he was guarding them.
Okay, that could have been, but he wanted to talk to them. He said he could talk to the French anytime, but it was unusual to be able to talk to the Germans. And seems like he indicated this one guy was a little guy. And can we go from there?
Well, only that that did happen. That he traded
He gave the guy some tobacco,
tobacco,
and
the guy,
Well,
the German gave him a button.
Wanted to reciprocate, so he gave him a button off his coat.
It's cold weather, and the button was valuable to the prisoner, but he gave it to Dad for.
He cut the button off his coat.
I probably pulled it off. I doubt if he had anything to cut with.
I think Dad gave him a knife to cut it with.
I would think it would be pulled off, but whatever. It would pull off. You
Yeah.
twist it off.
I'm not into that.
Huh?
I'm not into how he got it all.
No.
Except
He removed a button.
Yeah.
I think he cut it off.
Does seem like I remember hearing cut.
Yeah, let's do the
The cut.
The whole thing about cutting the button off.
However it was done, it does seem like I do remember the word cut. And I think I remember a reference to that was the last button he had on his coat.
Let's not make it any more.
Not
any
making more of it?
Let's not
I
put
thought
it
I
all-
remembered that.
Let's not put it all in. Make it any more than it was.
Okay, so we'll start over. We'll try this again. Supposedly we can edit this.
Oh.
And I'll start.